I just wanted to identify the fact that in the last meeting, there was a comment made by one of the directors here that, I'm paraphrasing, but while everybody here had the opportunity to review this new policy or old policy, whatever you guys want to spin it as, but you all had an opportunity to review the communication that was sent out to the parents roughly 3 weeks ago. However, that feedback that was provided to you, Dr. Miller, was not incorporated, and what was ultimately sent out was different from what the board members saw. I want to make that point. That's from what I understand. Most importantly, I can tell you this for a fact, the majority of the folks here this evening are here to hope. I didn't see anything on the agenda right now, and I'm praying to God there is something, but along the lines of a discussion for an opt-in letter. Very similar to the previous speaker here, I would like an opportunity to speak as a parent of these students, okay, and voice my opinion as a parent and their well-being. In other words, I want the opportunity to say yes or no to whether or not I want my kids to be in a shower with someone of the opposite biological sex. That would be in the form of an opt-in letter, very simple, very similar to a permission slip. You guys are very accustomed to that, and I don't think that it's unreasonable. I'm hoping that somebody here makes that motion tonight, and you guys vote on it, and we get this done once and for all. I do believe that if you offer up an opt-in letter, that this can be mitigated very easily and quickly. Thank you.
Excuse me, Dr. Banyas. Before we move on from board business, I had one item to add, if you don't mind. I will pass these down the way. I am passing out right now a form that is called opt-in form, and the title of it is opt-in form to permit your students to utilize multi-user school restrooms, locker rooms, and overnight accommodations during school-sponsored activities. I had provided this to Dr. Banyas and the leadership team over the weekend for placement on the meeting, but it was recommended that I did not, so therefore I am bringing it up myself. I'm kindly asking for your consideration of this opt-out form to ensure every student in our school and every parent have their rights protected in this time of uncertainty as we consider what our written policy will be going forward. After further review of the board meeting 2 weeks ago, multiple times I watched it, and following personal discussions that I have had with other community members, including students, it became more clear that as a board, we are in a difficult legal and ethical situation for several reasons. Expectations of bodily privacy in restrooms and locker rooms were changed without notification to students, parents, and the board. When a letter was eventually sent out, many people did not understand the letter that Dr. Miller sent home to the community. They thought it meant that students who felt uncomfortable using restrooms with students of the same biological sex would have the option of using unisex restrooms if they'd prefer that. They did not know it meant the opposite, that some children could use any restroom they wanted in the school, the girls' room, the boys' room, and the unisex restrooms. The parents and students did not understand the unisex restrooms were actually provided as the only alternative for those uncomfortable using multi-user restrooms with members of the opposite biological sex. Students do not clearly understand that unisex restrooms are the only option for them if they want to maintain their expectation of privacy from members of the opposite biological sex in restrooms and locker rooms. Parents have a right to the upbringing of their children and to advocate for the needs of their children in the school environment, especially when bodily privacy is concerned as it is here. And we need their feedback on this issue to help us make an informed decision on how we should proceed. As legal minors, students have a right to be advocated for by their parents, especially since they may be afraid to have an opinion of a need for bodily privacy that they are afraid to verbalize or share with school officials. This issue is difficult for many students, parents, and even those of us on this board to discuss. But we, as a board, need to be leaders, not shy away from our responsibilities out of fear. Our inaction is in itself an action. Here, not voting for an opt-in as an action to keep parents and students in the dark as much as possible. We need to do our due diligence and ensure that there is no question that every parent and child has the knowledge that expectations of privacy in restrooms and locker rooms has drastically changed, and that they have a voice to let us know whether their children will need accommodations to protect their bodily privacy expectations or whether they are okay with the changed privacy expectations. We, as representatives of this community, have a duty to act to ensure parents have clear information and a convenient means to have their voice heard. We have a duty to ensure their expectations of students' bodily privacy aren't violated during this time where we are considering what written policy we will eventually, someday, enact. We currently have an administrative policy that is in place with possible consequence to this district if accommodations are inadequate to satisfy PA code for restroom facilities as well as civil rights privacy laws. This opt-in form does not reverse the current practice for transgender students to use the girls', boys', or unisex restrooms at their discretion. The opt-in form is intended to ensure that parents are provided an opportunity to have a say in the legal rights to privacy on behalf of their own minor students. The opt-in form is also intended to provide us with information from the community that will be helpful to let us know how to move forward with a written policy and the number of facilities that will be needed to reasonably and legally accommodate the needs for all of our students. Those who do not opt in must be provided the space to maintain their expectation of privacy, free from the presence of members of the opposite sex. Our current numbers of accommodations are not nearly enough. We all should vote for this, regardless of whether we think biological sex is the reason we should have 2 different locker rooms, or if we think that students who don't identify with their biological sex should get to use any of the boys, girls, and the unisex restrooms they'd like, or even if you're not sure. We are obligated to address all of the concerns for all students to ensure a right to privacy and a safe and meaningful learning environment for everyone. This opt-in is an easy-to-understand, one-page document that gives us critical information on how we should proceed in the future. I now make a motion to have this opt-in form be considered by the board. Would anyone please oblige me to second it?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I move that we table it. It's exceptional. It's absolutely exceptional that a board member with, how many years' experience, Ms. Dawson? How many years' experience? They would
The
make such
table
a...
motion does not require discussion, correct?
Your agenda is to grandstand for the cameras. You went completely out of...
That's what you did.
Guys, you had your turn. This is our meeting now. We don't have a specific policy in place, but I'll acknowledge we have a practice. That practice has worked well for us thus far. There are a lot of concerns.
Nobody knew what the policy was.
This has been going on for 2.5 years. Where's the policy? Where is it? There is no policy.
Okay, please. Mr. Lyons?
Someone's not aware of it.
Okay, please. You will all have another opportunity to speak.
The kids did not know.
We've
Here,
received...
Mr. Lyons, it's best if you speak with the board. This is
We've
our
received-
discussion, not the discussion for them.
Really? Because
Really.
I saw a lot of comments going the other way just a second ago, Dr. Banyas, that didn't go pressed by you. So as I said, I have a motion to table this
Okay,
motion.
we have a motion to table.
Okay, excuse me.
Therefore, is there a second?
Mr. Claire,
Apparently not.
Second.
We have a motion to table this, which has been seconded.
Procedurally,
Okay. Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
Mr. Kashani?
Yes.
Ms. Dawson?
no.
Dr. Banyas?
No.
Mr. Stegman?
Could you please repeat what we're voting on?
We're voting, Mr. Stegman, we're voting on Mr. Lyons' motion, seconded by Mr. Sundo, to table Ms. Dawson's motion for an opt-in form. So the motion is to table it, to defer it. Is that a yes?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Goebel? Yes. Ms. Johnston?
No.
Mr. DiTullio?
no.
Mr. Sundo?
Yes.
That's 5 yeses and 4 nos.
Motion's tabled.
Ms. Dawson, thank you. That was not easy what you did, and we appreciate it. To summarize, I don't think anybody here has an issue with what these kids are doing. We don't. Okay? I applaud you for what you're doing. I have 2 teenage daughters. I have a 19-year-old son in college and a son in 4th grade who's 10. I know this is a very difficult thing for you. It's difficult to be a teenager in this world with the stress and the pressure. And now we have a great opportunity to do something and you table it. I'm frustrated. And I think I speak for most people here that that's the problem. It's not a he versus she. It's not a this is what we should do. We don't want to segregate anybody. We don't want anybody hurt in this situation. We want everyone to thrive. But you guys didn't give us a chance.
It's about all the students, all of them, but giving them all the chance to live and go to school and not be afraid. I am a parent of a child with special needs. Does that mean when he struggles in class that the entire curriculum is dropped for the rest of the students to fit my child? No. It means that accommodations were put in place to cover him, but the rest of the students stayed right where they needed to be as well. It's about covering all the students, all of them, but not putting any of them in a place where any of them are uncomfortable, where any of them have to go into a restroom for fear of their own privacy being robbed because they feel uncomfortable. It's not about raising bigotry. It's not. But it's about increasing sensitivity for each other. When you've got a child that's in a wheelchair, you don't put ramps in everywhere and force the whole rest of the students not to use the stairs. No, you make the necessary adjustments to fit every student right where they are. I commend your bravery. I commend you. Because it doesn't seem like anybody else on this board will back what is right for the students.
Ms. Dawson, I'm just coming up here to say thank you. That took a lot of work and sacrifice this weekend to put something together of that magnitude. There's no doubt you addressed the points poignantly, and again, the courage that you just displayed and the battle that you're about to go under. Again, thank you so much for being that representative for us on this board. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, sir.